Premier Bros back at you, and we're joined once again by Corin, our Liverpool specialist. Yeah, so let's get straight into the upcoming season, and we're still in the transfer window. How do you feel Liverpool's activity has been?
This is uncharted territory for a Liverpool fan, right? For the longest while now, been a little bit of a frustration among Liverpool fans in terms of the willingness, the perceived willingness for the owners to spend. The running joke is every time that money is spent is that it's still the Coutinho money.
Yeah, I actually saw that on the news that the Coutinho money has finally run out.
Yeah. But so I think it really has been a pleasant surprise, maybe even shock for most of us, certainly for me, to see the type of money being spent. I mean, the Verts signing, you'd think we would have stopped there onto Ekitike, and that's not even mentioning the two fullbacks that we have acquired as well. I'm obviously excited to see what happens with Isak. We absolutely need another centre-back. We're very short there. No matter what we do on the top end, I don't think we can compete for a title with the options that we have at the moment. We all know Gomez just can't be counted on, unfortunately, to stay fit, which means that we're left with albeit two top-class centre-backs, but we know, you can't go through a season with only that. So I hope and expect a centre-back to be bought for the end of the window. But honestly, who can complain with what's going on now? It's like a dream. I've never seen a transfer window like this for Liverpool in my life.
Liverpool have certainly revamped their offense, spent most of their transfer kitty on offensive players when they have a glaring need for defensive recruits. Don't you see that as being a bit frivolous? Particularly if they go after Isak with his transfer fee, it seems a bit of overkill when they haven't addressed the defense. I mean, they brought in fullbacks, as you've mentioned, but the substantial need would be for reinforcements in that centre-back position.
No, it's glaring. It has to happen. So I have to believe that they're going to sign a centre-back. I will be honest. Even if we bring in Isak, I don't think we can compete for a title. We can't with just Virgil and Konate. One will get injured. So if we do end the transfer window without a centre-back being signed, I will say that as excited as I am for what has happened on the top end of the pitch, I'll be disappointed, and I will think that it is negligent. But I cannot believe that we will end the window without bringing in another centre back. We have to.
Just a question for you there: when you think about the centre backs out there as potential targets, Mark Guehi has been talked about a lot in the press. How do you feel about him, or is there another player that you'd like to see Liverpool sign?
No, well, I mean, I would love if we signed him. I think he's the one that most of us feel we will bring in before the window closes. And honestly, even without Isak, I mean, my heart is set on Isak at the moment. I mean, how could it not be? But even without him, if we do bring in Guehi, I'll give the window an A+.
Speaking about Mark Guehi, his expectation would be that he's starting wherever he plays. Coming into Liverpool, you're looking at Van Dijk, Konate. Is it realistic for him to expect to start? And would he be willing to accept position on the bench at this stage of his career?
My worry in terms of us attracting somebody like him, or the type of centre-back that we would need, would be playing time. To unseat either Konate or Van Dijk would be near impossible. The truth is, we do have a history of injuries at that position. I think anybody that we bring in will get a lot of playing time. But you don't sell a project to a player by saying you'll play if our starters get injured.
Exactly.
So I think that if we don't get him and you ask me at the end of the window, I'm going to I'll be worried. The other thing I will say, David, to your question earlier, within the Liverpool community, most of us believe that this is Konate's last year. We feel he's doing a trend. He won't be vilified in the same way, rightfully so, that trend was. But it is clear that either Madrid or PSG are in his ear. He hasn't signed a new contract, and so it could be that you're telling a player you rotate for 1 year and then you're moving into to replace Konate. I hope there's a turnaround, because I love him as a player. Other than the fact that he's injury prone, I think he's a good centre back, but my fear is he's gone.
But you've seen Liverpool in action in the preseason, and what's been your impression so far with the new signings, the academy prospects on display?
I think we're getting a good indication of or understanding of Slot's thinking. Klopp was very big on blooding youth. Slot seems less inclined to do that. That tells you how impressed he must be. I mean, how could he not be with Ngumoa and Trey Neone, but particularly Ngumoa. He has been, I don't want to say he's been the star of the preseason because Wirtz has had a really, really good preseason as well. But he's the one I think that is exciting a lot of people. He's so good, and we got him from Chelsea. I mean, he's joined a long line of players that Chelsea has sold that look like they're going to be really, really good. Salah included. We've been hearing how good he is. But at 16 to be having this kind of an impact in preseason, I think it's clear that he's now going to have a fairly significant role to play off the bench. And he kind of gets you out of his seat every time he touches the ball. So he's been really, really fun to see rather than just to hear about. But it's been really good seeing Wirtz integrated into the team as well. It is preseason, but defensive frailties have reared their head as well. We've been kind of outscoring opponents in preseason rather than locking them down. But that might just be a function of the.
Well, that's back to the Klopp era, right?
Exactly right. That that was, and that's not Slot's football. But we're hoping that when the season does start, we'll lock things up. But aside from the fact that I think we've been conceding more goals, and I'm comfortable with attacking wise, we'll look really, really good. And again, it's hard not to be excited. We have a really good set of footballers in the team right now. Every player that Slot seems to go after is technically gifted, which Nunez wasn't, right? But if you look at the signing of Ekitike, for example, such a technically gifted player as is Wirtz, it's hard not to be excited for what the season will hold.
You think about all of those players. There's only 11 players on the pitch.
I know.
They're only, unless you guys are planning to play 9 attackers. I mean, it's going to be well. There could be some dissatisfaction on the bench because you have this young guy coming in Ngumoa, who everyone is excited to see and probably is expecting to, have a part to play in the season. You have players on the bench who we've even forgotten. Chiesa, who is we hear nothing about him. If you do bring in Isak, we know that. Rotation is important, of course, but chemistry is important, right? All those attackers, do you see that potentially being a problem?
It could be, and I think we just have to wait to see how it plays out. Forcing world-class players all over the pitch into your team often doesn't play out well, and we know that. Chelsea has tried it and failed many a time, so we just have to hope that Slot has a plan, which I'm sure that he does, and that the transfers are in keeping with that plan. But there is no doubt that if we bring Isak in, it's a somewhat crowded attack. If Isak comes in, I have no idea how they plan to fit everyone in. That is a worry. It will be too many mouths to feed.
While I haven't watched the Liverpool preseason games, I have looked at a couple of the lineups, and I noticed that Szoboszlai has been partnering with Gravenberch and McAllister coming off the bench at times in certain games. So it seems like Slot is thinking about pushing Szoboszlai back, giving Wirtz that number 10 slot that Szoboszlai had last season.
Yeah.
When you think about Szoboszlai versus McAllister, do you have a preference for who you'd like to see playing in that position? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's McAllister's position. Make no mistake. He was the one player given extended time off from his summer. That is his position. I think Szoboszlai is going to be one of those players that is affected by his versatility. He's such a good footballer, but you're never 100% sure what his best position is because he really can play everywhere. But my expectation is that it will be Gravenberch, who I love, and McAllister again in the middle. And I think Szoboszlai is going to be rotated in a variety of positions.
The one position we haven't talked about is goalkeeper. Kelleher has moved on to Brentford. I'm not sure who's come in to back up Alisson, but I've heard rumblings that he could be leaving Liverpool in the summer. What's the latest on the goalkeeper situation, and what would you like to see happen there?
Well, I'm going to butcher his name, but Mamardashvili is his name. We bought him a couple of years ago and loaned him back to his parent club. So he's a supposedly a huge prospect. So he'll be backing up Alisson. I recently heard that rumor as well in terms of him leaving. I don't know if it really has legs. I'm such a massive Alisson fan. How could you not be? And I think he's played such a huge role in our success over the years that really can't be understated. And whenever he does leave, it's going to be a huge hole to be filled. So I hope he has a couple more years at Liverpool. I think he is the best 1v1 keeper I've ever seen. The thing is, he's too is injury prone. Liverpool will always need a good backup keeper because there's going to be a stretch of game where Alisson doesn't play.